You are listening to the Masculine Mindset Show, a podcast for introverts to get more confidence, more importantly, more self-worth, and of course, get more fit. Women are a side benefit. More importantly, I turn nice guys into bad motherfuckers. Let's get into the content. You fucking legend. Sponsored by Brain FM. Real binaural beats that has sleep tracks, meditation tracks, recharge tracks, relaxation tracks, focus tracks, which, by the way, those focus tracks are really fucking good. Man, do I focus when I am writing my blogs, you guys. Okay, let's get into the content. I fucking love it. If you'd sign up right now. Okay. Masculine Mindset Show. It's Adam Skoda. Now, guys, today I have Dale Valor on my podcast. He is from the Modern Success group. And he's also with Modern Flirting as well. The legend Jared Lawrence, if you guys want to go check him out. Now, today's topic is inner game and assertiveness. So I'm going to start out just by talking about inner game, and I wanted to mention real quick that Dale is an author of a book called Inner Game. So I would love for him to just introduce himself to my listeners, and he can basically let my listeners know his definition of inner game because he has a whole book on it. So the floor is yours, man.
Adam, I've been looking forward to this all day, man. I absolutely love the opportunity to get on a podcast or, public speaking engagement or whatever and be in front of somebody's audience and just have a conversation, man, and just vibe and have a good time doing it. And man, look, I could not be more happy. I'm so excited that you asked me to be on, you know what I mean? So I'm glad we were able to carve out the time, make it happen. And so let's knock it out, man. Let's knock it out, bro. So, yeah, man, inner game, bro. So, like you'd mentioned, Modern Success, I'm one of the head coaches with Modern Success, and my lane is inner game. Go figure, right? So, I've been working with, I've worked with thousands of guys over the last, since I really began coaching. And one thing that I notice with guys who really struggle, is 9 times out of 10, it boils down to their inner game. Everything starts with mindset, right? Like if you're going to accomplish a task, you're already thinking about that task before you go out there and do it, how it's going to be done. You're anticipating certain things. Even if you don't even know what it is, you don't even know what you're doing. You still are kind of piecing together mental pictures as to what this is probably going to look like. You might be right, you might be wrong, somewhere in the middle. But bottom line is you're already contemplating what is going to happen. And I find that guys, when it comes to dating and relationships and things like that, they build a narrative, and a lot of times it just doesn't work out for them because they're either playing it too safe or they're playing it too loose, or there's so many variables and things like that from a mental standpoint. One of the things that you had brought up is how I define inner game, all right, which is an excellent question. The way I define inner game is the relationship that you have with yourself. We're all looking for great relationships in our lives, right? Like even from a professional standpoint, from a social circle standpoint, from a romantic standpoint, we're looking to foster awesome relationships. Nobody goes out like, man, I hope I just meet a bunch of terrible people today. A bunch of people that aren't going to do me any kind of justice at all. Just bring me down. Man, I really hope that happens. Nobody says that. We all want to have good people as a part of our lives, people that can benefit us and that we can benefit them, so it's reciprocal, right? But if we don't have a good relationship with ourselves, how can we justifiably expect any type of good relationships in our life? If I don't like me, how can I expect anybody else to? So that's the way I define it, man.
Yeah, I love that, dude. And I'm just gonna give my listeners my definition of inner game real quick. That is just unplugging from social norms. Stop following the herd. As I always say, it's just like when you believe certain things that other people believe. Like, for example, I have an episode called "Is It Creepy to Learn Pickup?" and I say, no, it's not. You're actually bettering yourself as a man. And not to mention, I know a lot of people, they have like a weird reaction to the word pickup, but here's my take on this real quick, you guys. First off, if you fall into the herd where you still think pickup is creepy, you have a weak frame. Now, I'm not saying that to, I tend to call out my listeners, okay? Dale knows this, right? Because he heard my episode, 10X Your Masculinity. But either, that's such an over-the-top episode. Anyways, so, gotta stop following the herd, because if you still think pickup is creepy, you're gonna come off as creepy to girls. Because, quite frankly, you have a weird relationship with that word. I used to have a weird relationship with that word. And what did that basically do? I ended up coming across as strange. I openly said that on my show. And first point. Second point is this. Stop following what everyone thinks. Stop following what everyone thinks. More importantly, here's a big, dude, this is such a good quote by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Don't believe everything you think. Mm-hmm. Don't believe everything you think. And so for me, inner game is just like gaming yourself. Stop following what everyone else thinks, especially stop following what other people think about money too. I actually have a full episode on money with Jeremy Newsome. Go check it out. How making money improves masculinity. And more importantly, the last big point I want to make is just have a clear code of life. I touch upon that in my hardcover book, 77 Ways to Develop a Masculine Mindset. And so, yeah, I could say a million other things, but it's just like, don't follow what other people think. And more importantly, don't believe everything you think, as Dr. Wayne Dyer says, right? And stop believing that attraction is about doing favors or buying girls shit. It's just like, come on, guys. I mean, you guys know better than that by now, right? I have so many podcasts where I just like, what was that? How to Be a Sexy Challenge. I was like, stop simping over these bitches, you guys. But I'm not saying that to be misogynistic. I'm saying that it's just like, you have to stop doing chicks favors. That's the biggest thing. So.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, hey, girl, need an addition built on your house? I'm your guy.
Yeah.
Need your house painted? Gotcha. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, man, that's not going to get you anywhere for sure, man. You know, and I like what you said. Don't believe everything that you think. People have this idea that because you think something, therefore it must be true. Like, and my question to people who think kind of like that mindset is, have you ever been wrong about something? Who hasn't? So how can you justifiably suggest or say that, like, if I think it, that 100% is the reality? It's only the reality to you, because that's the reality that you're making for yourself. What the things that you think, the things that you entertain, we all have invasive thoughts, like that's just going to happen. That's part of human nature. We're all going to have invasive thoughts, but that doesn't mean that those invasive thoughts is the correct way to think about something. That it's do your thoughts stand up to scrutiny? Do your thoughts stand up to litmus tests? Do your thoughts stand up to, like, here's a good example. You were talking about, is pickup creepy? Not in and of itself, but believe you me, there's a lot of guys that are doing creepy pickup. You know what I mean? And that's because they think that they need to do it a certain way. And what kind of results are they getting? There's a guy that, obviously, I'm not going to mention names, but there was a guy that I was working with for a little bit. And this dude, like, this guy just, if I've ever known anybody that's like gives me serial killer vibes, it was this dude. All right. Like, his whole demeanor suggested like just dark energy. You know what I mean? And like, I would correct him. And it just, nothing would really land. You know what I mean? Because he was insistent upon doing it his way, which, by the way, wasn't working at all. And I'm like, it got to a point where it's like a come to Jesus, man. It's like, look, bro, why am I here? If you're not going to listen to me, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm teaching is right. You know, if you're not going to do what it is that I'm telling you, there's no point in me being here. You know, now he kind of got it and was starting to do things a little bit differently, but he fell back into his old ways of doing things, and it just hasn't worked out for him to this day. And it's because in his mind, this is the way that it should be, not the way that it is. We gotta take reality for what it actually is. I could wish this drywall was made of gold. It ain't. It's drywall. I could wish it all day. I could just sit here and stare at it and hope that it just turns into gold. But it ain't gonna. It's gonna stay drywall. And if you keep having the same mindset over and over and over again, and it's not helping you, what will help you is changing that mindset. You know, I'm sure, Adam, you've heard this as much as I have, bro. You know, you see these guys who are like, guys in my DMs all the time. Well, you know, I'm a shorter guy, and and you know, blah blah blah. All these excuses as to why they can't get out there and make something happen for themselves.
Yeah.
And so what they're doing, man, they're falling into, you know, they got cognitive bias going on. Everything that happens to them that doesn't fall in line with what they want, it now has became, well, it's my shortness's fault, or it's my whatever excuse you want to use. It's that. Well, it's not that. It's you.
Dude, I got the chills right now. Look at this. I always tell my listeners that whenever I get the chills, it means I'm about to say something really good. So, you mentioned cognitive biases. Now, guys, I have like a 4,000 word article on my website called 5 cognitive biases, or like 5 psychological biases that trigger attraction effortlessly. And guys, I'm going to tell you something real quick. When it comes to that field, I really have to tell you all something. All right, so first off, what Dale just said about the way you come across, like your demeanor to girls, you have to be cognizant of that. Like, you really have to be cognizant of that, because that's, if you believe any screwed up, toxic, shitty, limiting belief, then you're going to be getting the same results as he was getting, right? Like that weird guy. I don't know his name. I don't think I want to know his name. But
you don't.
Either way. So I would, my biggest thing is I always follow my own rules, right? Check your fucking frame before you jump into interactions with girls. Just check your fucking frame. And what I mean by that is you just don't have weird vibes. Give women good energy, and just don't even have any ulterior motives. Like, I know some of my podcasts, you know, they sound really naughty, like, oh, Adam, you put all these podcasts out there. It's like, oh, this guy knows what he wants. He wants to get some, right? He wants to get some. So, it's just, guys, there comes a point in time where, like, you gotta be real and let that shit go. because when I'm actually in set, the only time that I really bring out that really really naughty voice is when like I'm one on one and she's isolated from everyone else, right? Guys, again, don't take that personally. Okay, gosh, so many guys get so weirded out by this. Just like chill out. But anyways, it's what I mean by isolation is you have to get her alone, away from other people, because that is the only time that she is really going to basically follow your lead. Because that right there, again, is masculine. This is called the Masculine Mindset Show for a reason. Now, what was I saying? It was what's back on the tangent. Can you get me back on course, Dale? I totally lost my
You're
train
talking
of thought.
cognitive bias.
Yeah, cognitive biases, right. All right, there's something called the mere exposure effect. The mere exposure effect basically states that the more you are merely exposed to other girls, you are going to get used to their presence. And that's how I built a lot of relationships recently, because I just basically I am getting myself more exposed to these girls, and sounds funny, right? Getting exposed, but anyway, the whole point behind that is to just when you are conversing with girls, they are seeing you more often, and it's like they get more comfortable with you because the law of mere exposure, right? I mean, it's just one can say that that's a brilliant way to just build up a campaign over time and build a relationship with anyone. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be just girls. Like, it could be anyone. But yeah. So.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, when guys fall into the trap of cognitive bias, right? What's happening? What's happening is that they're blinded to anything that points to the opposite of what they're thinking is true. Okay, so I'll give you an example. This is so funny, man. So one of my best friends, all right, he's in this relationship with this woman, and things were kind of going south, you know. I mean, but it was like a long-term relationship. They were engaged at this point, but they were having some issues. And, you know, he comes to me and he's like, Dale, what do you think, man? You know, like, go figure, I might be the guy to ask, you know. But he comes to me, we're having a conversation about it. And I was like, hey, man, look, you know, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to give you my thoughts, and then you do with those thoughts what you want, you know. And if you choose to, you know, break up with her, so be it. If you choose to stay with her and you end up marrying this girl, like, I will, you know, I'll support it and everything. But, you know, you just do with these thoughts what you want, you know. So I tell him what you know, what I was thinking. So he opts to break up with her. Okay. And so he hits me up a couple of weeks later and he's like, hey, man, I don't know. I think I made a mistake, dude. Maybe I shouldn't have broke up with her. I'm like, well, why'd he say that? Man, I keep getting all these signs from the universe. That, you know, that I keep thinking about her. And I'm like, okay, what kind of signs are we talking about here? He's like, man, I keep seeing her car everywhere. Not her actual literal car, just make and model, you know. And I'm like, okay, what kind of car does she drive? Man, she drives a red Toyota Corolla. I'm like, oh, so you mean the number one car sold on planet Earth? You keep happening to just see that, huh? You know, like, come on, man. I'm like, the only reason that you're thinking that you're getting a sign is just because you're aware of the type of car that she drives. If you had no idea what type of car she drives, that wouldn't stand out to you. You know, like, that's the only reason. I'm like, you're not getting a sign from the universe. You're just hyper aware. And it's falling into a belief system that you're kind of leaning towards anyway. So now you're getting these data points that you think are pushing you in that direction, when that's not what it is at all. This is just circumstantial. You know, like, oh, I keep seeing, I don't know, like McDonald's. She likes McDonald's, and I keep seeing McDonald's everywhere I go. Like, of course you do. Starbucks, probably a better example. There's a Starbucks everywhere, man. You know, like, so that falling into that cognitive bias isn't going to help you if you're only looking for data to support whatever that, you know, mindset is, or that limiting belief to suggest why you can't. All right, fine, keep believing it. You know, like, the only one that's suffering from it is you. You know, like, it's not hurting anybody else, it's only hurting you. You know, so if you want to believe it, but it doesn't mean that it's true just because you believe it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so many bad beliefs guys have about this. It's just like you also have to be sexually confident, you guys. That's huge. I would say inner game. I'm going to come back to the topic of inner game here, but we got a little fired up there for a minute. Anyway,
I'm fired up, man.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
my baseline, bro.
yeah, yeah. So I would say part of inner game is being sexually confident, because if you think about it, like, you have to be comfortable in your sex drive, but also more importantly, you don't want to be weird about it, clearly, as we talked about. But I also want to talk about the topic of assertiveness in a little bit, but I wanted to mention real quick, what are your thoughts on being more sexually confident and comfortable, obviously, but I just think that this is an interesting field too, because I think that inner game and confidence go hand in hand, because when you work on just unplugging from social norms, as I said earlier, and just getting rid of these bad, shitty beliefs, and replacing them with more attractive, positive, self-affirming beliefs, that to me is inner game in a nutshell. I mean,
Yeah, man. I mean, look, of course, somebody should feel sexually confident. Like, I would never advise, like, no, man, don't be confident in that area, you know. But you know, here's the thing. Um, I have I just finished. I just got the last revision back. Last week, I got a new book coming out called Unlocking Unstoppable Confidence, which obviously we get into that topic quite a bit in that book. It's in the title, so it kind of makes sense. But you know, when it comes to, you know, confidence in any area, whether it's sexually, whether it's approaching, whether it's professionally, whatever, you know, um, I'm not a big advocate of, like, you need this type of confidence and this type of confidence and this type of once you feel confident in something, generally that starts to extrapolate across other areas of your life. Now, of course, you know, there's where confidence doesn't really, you know, like, here's an example. If Adam, you're like, hey man, my buddy had a head injury yesterday, can you come do brain surgery on him? Well, I'm not going to feel confident that that's going to go well. It's going to be a bad day for everybody. You know what I mean? But I do feel confident in my ability to learn and understand things. Right? I might not be able to do brain surgery today, but if I give my all, odds are I will be able to learn it at some point. I have confidence in myself that I'm, you know, competent enough to understand and learn things. All right. So that's where this comes down to, you know, like, in particularly with guys who haven't had a lot of sexual experience. You know, it's like, well, Dale, you know, come on, man. How can I be confident in something that I'm just simply not used to? How can I be confident in something that maybe a guy's a virgin? You know, I mean, a third of guys under 30 are, you know, so, you know, there's a good chance that some of your audience is, and that's okay. You know what I mean? I'm not clowning or anything like that. And then it's a reasonable question. How can I be confident in something I've never ever done? Well, here's how you have confidence regardless. Okay. So, you know, if you can't feel confident in yourself, be competent. All right. Have confidence in that competency. An example I absolutely love. Imagine being on an airplane. All right. Now you're sitting window seat. You got a guy sitting here next to you, and you're mid-flight. You're flying to Los Angeles. You know, you're somewhere over Iowa at this point or something. All right. And word gets out on the plane. The pilot had a heart attack and died mid-flight. Oh no, what's going to happen now? There's no pilot, right? So people start freaking out. Okay. Now, the guy sitting next to you, he jumps up and he's like, hey, listen, everybody, don't worry, I got this. I have seen Top Gun 25 times, and I've seen the new one 3 times. I got this. He runs up to the front of the plane. He gets in front of the instrument panel, grabs the yoke. What's going to happen? Everybody's dead. He's going to fly that thing right into the ground, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
But now, dude had all the confidence in the world, okay? But what he didn't have was competence. All right? Now, same example, just a little bit different. Pilot has a heart attack and dies. Sitting next to him is a co-pilot. All right? This co-pilot, this is his first day on the job, day one. All right? And you know how that goes, man. You know, it's first day on the job. You're probably a little bit nervous already. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But he's never flown a plane like this before with all these passengers and all this, and especially in a high pressure situation. But what has he done? Well, he's done, he passed his flight test, certainly. Otherwise, he wouldn't be sitting there. He's got tons of, book learning, tons of flight simulator hours, tons of flight hours. It just so happens it's day one of him being a co-pilot. He gets behind the instrument panel. What's going to happen? There's a 99% chance they're going to land the plane. Everybody will be fine, except for the pilot that already died. So now he wasn't confident in himself. He's nervous. He's anxious, right? But he had the competency to act in spite of that. Mm-hmm. All right. And now that he did this in this high pressure situation, now he's also going to have the confidence that, hey, I can do this. I got this, So he has the best of both worlds. He has the competency and he has the confidence, right? So if you're a guy that doesn't have the experience, what can you do? You can become competent, right? You can start watching instructional stuff. I don't mean porn. I mean actual instructional stuff. You can start learning female anatomy. You can start, getting guidance from guys who do know what they're doing. And I don't mean like that in a weird way. But what I mean is like breaking it down for you, what you can expect, how to, hold yourself, how to, handle this situation, how to push it forward, how to sexually escalate, and all these things, right? So now you have the competency that you can start putting into motion. Once you have the experience, now you have the confidence too, right? So that's what I'm driving at, man. Look, it's crazy to say, that's the worst advice in the world. Just be confident. Dude, what? I'm just gonna be confident just because somebody told me I should be. That's not how it works. It works through experience. And if you don't have experience, it's something that you can learn before doing it. I'm gonna go out on a limb, Adam. You probably have a driver's license. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't always have a driver's license. Yeah. You weren't born with a driver's license. At a certain point in time, you got behind a car the first time, or got behind the wheel of a car, I mean to say, right? You had to take a driver's education course. You had to go, do a road test. You had to do whatever you had to do. But either way, it was at a certain point, it was the first time doing it. You never did it before, but that's how you learned how to do it. And now I'm going to go out on another limb. You probably don't even think about driving while you're driving. You probably just get in your car and go, thinking about what you're going to do when you get there, right? I mean, it's just internalized. You just do it, So it boils down to learning the thing, feeling confident in your learning, then executing it. And now you got both. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I wanted to switch gears and talk about assertiveness. Now, I think we went on a big tangent on inner game. It is important to know about the mere exposure effect, just because, I mean, the more you're basically getting to know someone, and the more you are exposed to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but that just makes me laugh, dude. you're, you're exposed to them. It sounds kind of like dirty, but
That's the creepy pickup.
any,
That's
yeah,
that's
yeah,
my
yeah.
opener. I just exposed myself.
Take take note on how Dale and I are acting right now. You don't do that in front of chicks. But anyways, um, so I want to talk about assertiveness now, and the reason is because, well, obviously I heard your interview with Marnie of the Wing Girl Method. I thought that was awesome. And first off, I want to start out by just saying self-boundaries. That for me is huge. Like, if you think that you're going to start showing assertiveness in front of girls, you have to show that you are assertive with you before you start even like showing that assertiveness around chicks. Because
100%.
if I mean, like, oh chick, I'm assertive, but then you try to act tough, because again, I have another podcast called 10 Reasons Why Women Are Attracted to Polarizing Assholes, and I say don't be fake hard. Now, fake hard, you guys, is you're acting like that fake tough guy. Oh, I have boundaries, chick, but you don't have boundaries with you, because potentially you're going to the bar too much, and you still got that beer gut, and it's just like, come on, guys, let's step it up. First off, eliminate your vices, because that's huge. I talk about eliminating vices in my hardcover book, and also I wanted to mention, yes, eliminating vices, very important. Self boundaries, extremely important, and third big point is to be sexually assertive, which I'll get to that here in a little bit, but I wanted to actually ask you real quick, what is your definition of assertiveness? Because I just basically said just a few things, dude. I could go on a million more things, but
Assertiveness, in the way I define it, is standing up for your code, your whatever your compass is, whatever your purpose is, like basically you standing up for self. Okay. um where I think a lot of guys miss the mark is they confuse assertive with aggressive. Mm-hmm. There's a difference. Okay. The way that, actually, let me take a step back, because I like what you said about being self-assertive. What's another way of saying self-assertive? Self-discipline.
Yep.
Right? You have to discipline yourself, and by doing that, you're being assertive with yourself that this is acceptable, this isn't acceptable, right? So I got to get rid of these things that are unacceptable to me, right? So if I'm trying to lose weight, or if I'm trying to put on muscle, if I'm trying to, stop smoking so much weed, or drinking too much, or whatever the case is, right? I'm putting in more hours at the job, trying to level up there, whatever it is. All right. It starts with you. Yeah. Because otherwise it's just somebody telling you to do it, which is probably going to cause resentment, to be honest, but the thing is that if you're going to self-discipline yourself and be assertive with yourself, that's going, as a natural extension, that's going to show to others. Because if you can tell yourself no, it makes it a whole lot easier to tell somebody else no, and the thing is, what aggression is it's the act of being assertive, but also being out of control with that assertiveness, a loose cannon, right? If I'm in a war and you're an invading army and I've got a cannon, I want that cannon to shoot in your direction. You know what I mean? I don't want to just willy-nilly just shooting everything. You know what I mean? I want it to be focused. I want it to hit the enemy, hit its mark, hit its target, not just any target. I don't care about the trees behind you and the army behind me killing all my guys. You know what I mean? I don't want it doing that. I want it going to where it needs to go in order to, you know, not let me and my people get injured and hurt or killed, right? So if you're a loose cannon, that's aggressive. You don't want aggressive, you want aggression. What aggression is all that aggressive energy focused in a certain way, in a certain path, in a certain target, you know? And so if we're talking about self-discipline and setting boundaries and things like that, you know, like, look, you can look, let's call it what it is, man. Some people don't have any boundaries, and that's problematic.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're a doormat at that point, right?
Yeah.
Some people they have boundaries, and they'll tell people their boundaries, but they don't enforce their boundaries. That's where the assertiveness comes in, right? They're nothing more than what? A paper tiger. You know, like, okay, cool, you told me, but I don't mean nothing, because what are you going to do about it? You know what I mean? So taking it past that, some people have their boundaries are too rigid. All right. If that's like the what you call it, like the metronome going to the other extreme. If your boundaries are too rigid, then you're nothing more than a tyrant. You know what I mean? Like you're that's controlling. You know, like we see like these guys who you know, like, oh, my girlfriend can't ever even look at another guy. It's like, really? Okay. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's mad at her because, you know, the server at the restaurant they went to happened to be a waiter instead of a waitress. And he's mad at her. Like it's her fault. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you know, so what you want is that sweet spot in the middle, healthy boundaries that you're willing to enforce. If you're not willing to enforce it, that's problematic on a huge level, right?
Dude, yeah, I have to go on a tangent real quick because I just love what you said so much. He was talking about rigid boundaries, but also there is another part. Again, I touch upon this in my hardcover book. Write down boundaries you have for yourself, and I talk about rigid boundaries and porous boundaries. Most people have both, and it's bad. So, rigid boundaries, unlikely to ask for help, has few close relationships, very protective of personal info, may seem detached with romantic partners, keep others at a distance to avoid the possibility of rejection. Now, porous boundaries, you guys, you ready for this? Difficulty saying no to the requests of others, dependent on the other people's opinions of you, right? That's bad, you guys. Again, you got to draw validation from within. I say that consistently. Accepting of abuse or disrespect. Fears rejection if they do not comply with others. Over involved with other people's problems. Overshares personal information. Now, the good part I want to say for the actual book, but I talk about healthy boundaries after. Now, if there's anything you want to say on that, let me know. Because
Yeah, man. I mean, look, I like what you said about rigid boundaries. You know, the thing is, why do guys have rigid boundaries? Or anybody? It doesn't have to be guys; it could be anybody. But why do people have rigid boundaries? The answer is because of insecurities.
mm-hmm.
And if you have insecurities, what are insecurities? It's things not making you feel secure. Right? It's like the literal word.
Yeah, it comes
And
from fear.
so, right, that, you know, and so that needs to get handled before, you know, having all like a laundry list of all these crazy boundaries and all this and that, you know, like, yes, I would rather you have rigid boundaries than no boundaries, but that doesn't make rigid boundaries right either, you know, because again, you're nothing more inside of your relationships and the people, you know, people you know and friends and family and all that kind of stuff. You're nothing more than a tyrant at that point, man. You know, like nobody wants to live inside of tyranny. Nobody, you know? And so if you're being tyrannical, it's because you're afraid of losing something. So I have to overemphasize, overkill here. You know what I mean? Like, you're not even having conversations with people to get it figured out. You're just saying, no, I don't like that. So that can't happen. It's like, well, why? Why can't that happen?
That sounds like how I was about a few years ago, you guys. Because I would just like go a little crazy, I guess. But
that's that metal coming out in you.
Yeah. I have an episode where I think it was called Self-Investment is Self-Love, motherfuckers. Literally, like I have the F-bomb in the podcast title. So dude, I just lost my shit. I was like, if you're going to give someone a $2 tip, I'm going to fucking smack you. And I'm like, Adam, chill your balls, as I was editing that. So, but it's just like, guys, you should be more generous with your tips. Seriously. But either way, the whole point behind that is I want men to be more generous with their tips.
But your driver.
yeah. It's just what I want my listeners to realize is that, again, don't act like me, like how I was in that podcast. But I will say that you want to kind of be like that in terms of self-improvement, because a lot, like, here's how I see it. If you want to aggressively self-improve, I suggest writing down boundaries, aggressively going after your goals, but don't aggressively go after girls. No, don't do that. It's just, you have to read her correctly. It's all about calibration, right? Mm-hmm. And also, more importantly, I want to get into sexual assertiveness now, because I actually showed Dale one of my podcast interviews with my man Mike from The Courageous Man. Now, again, I'm going to get into some controversial territory here, but you know what? I'm going to go there. Guys, I have an episode called Women Don't Want to Be Respected. What? It's true. Oh, shoot me. I have a very polarizing titled podcast, but the whole point behind that is Mike and I talked about this, right? We both said that men and women view that word interchangeably, right?
Which word?
Respect.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So what I said on that episode is just be willing to show your assertive energy in when she wants it from you. Like, I will give you guys a clear example. Last year, so I mastered PNF stretching, all right? Now, what that is the contraction and the relaxation of the muscle. This chick, I'm going to leave nameless because she might know about my show. I don't know. But she was asking, Adam, can you just push a little harder? And then when I started getting more aggressive with my touching, right? Or like, guys, I want to be careful with that. Again, aggressive with the stretching. Okay, that's what I mean. That's really what I mean. She was like, oh, that feels better. Nice. And I was like, what? God, these chicks are like, I realized what they're into. Like, this is what they want, but they're not going to say it to you, right? So what I'm getting at here is this. You want to show that you're kind of masculine, right? When you're touching them, right? Or like when you're doing anything physical with them. Do you get me? So what I mean by, all right, I went for that polarizing title, I know, but the whole point is this. What I'm saying here is this. Show that little oomph, when you're in the escalation process. And I wanted to get your take on this now, Dale. Let me know if you have any stories like that one, right? But
well,
if you share.
I mean, look, I've been a dominant in the BDSM community for a long time. All right. So yeah. I hear you. Now here's the thing. I call it basically organized chaos. All right. So much like what we were talking about between aggression and aggressive, right? Like aggressive is out of control. All right. Aggression is focused, right? So this is the same thing. You don't want, when it comes to that type of dynamic, it can't be all over the place, right? It has to be focused. And so when you're escalating in that way, you want to show that dominance, that dominant frame, but that doesn't mean, like, here's a great example. I got a great example for you. So it's like this. You ever go to the zoo? You've been to the zoo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're walking around, checking out all the animals and all this and that. You come up on the tiger display, or not display, exhibit. And you come up on that exhibit. Now this tiger is in a controlled atmosphere, right? There's a gulch between you and the tiger, so why? So the tiger doesn't run up and start eating everybody and stuff, it's to protect everybody. You can look and you can tell that thing's a monster, but there's an element of safety there, keeping you from getting hurt, getting injured, getting killed. All right. So the tiger doesn't have to do anything aggressive, assertive, whatever you want to call it, just by looking at this thing, right? So there's a respect, there's kind of almost a fear, but that you're safe. Kind of like when you go on a roller coaster, it's like, it's controlled fear, or a haunted house at Halloween time, logically nothing's going to happen to you, but there's that element of danger. There's that vibe in the air. All right. That's what you want to put out there. Obviously, you don't want to hurt her. Not really. You know what I mean? Obviously, she doesn't want to feel disrespected, not in a real sense. You know what I mean? But she wants to feel that power.
Yes.
But under control,
That's what I
environment.
mean. Yeah. That's what I mean when I say women don't want to be respected. Like, they just want to feel that type of energy from their partner, because it's like my ex-girlfriend, she wanted me to like get freaky, like basically she slapped me in the bedroom, and I was like, okay. So here's what I did. Again, I told this story already, but I'll say it again. I just got her from behind and I made her climax. Now that's it. See, I want to be careful here, because a lot of my listeners can take this advice too far. How you want to show that type of energy is you just want to be more physical with girls, right? So I'll just give you guys another example. I have an article on my website called How to Turn Girls On, right? Fast. And again, something that I think is a great way to start increasing that assertiveness, but in a controlled way, right? In a controlled way, all right? Just kind of lean in when she's basically accepting of you, leaning in, whisper in her ear and say, I'm going to do unspeakable things to your body when I get you alone in my place later tonight. Mm-hmm. See that? That is hot, Dale. I'm telling you. All of you guys listening right now, just think about that from a girl's perspective for a second. That increases anticipation. So powerful. So powerful.
It's that animalistic energy, like I was saying with the tiger example, right? But it's restrained. Okay, it like not completely restrained, but it's restrained enough where she knows that she's not in danger. Mm-hmm. Okay, but there's like I said before, kind of like a vibe or a dangerous energy. You know what I mean? So she knows that nothing's really gonna happen to her, but it has a semblance of that, like a caged tiger. You have respect for that tiger because you're like, that thing will kill me in a second. You know what I mean? So Because think about it like this, you know, it's like all the things, for the most part, you know, I don't want to paint with too broad of a brush, but for the most part, speaking in general terms, all the things that women are attracted to physically with a guy are all the same things that could ultimately be her demise. We're stronger, we're faster, we're more, you know, more testosterone, we're more assertive or aggressive. You know, just they don't stand a chance. You know what I mean? And but those are all things that they're attracted to. Imagine if all you were attracted to was NFL linebackers.
Yeah.
Like, if they wanted to like murder you, like it's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's what it's like from their perspective. That's why the safety component is so important. They have to logically feel safe, emotionally out of control.
Yeah. In fact, you bring up a good point. We can wrap up this podcast on, that is just having good emotional control. Because that right there, in my humble opinion, is like really fucking important. Because without that emotional control, you're freaking passive aggressive. You come across as like a fucking dick. And yeah, I just think that like having good emotional control is huge.
Yeah, of course. If you can't, look, we all feel a certain way, right? I mean, it's nearly impossible to control a reaction to something. If I walked up to you, Adam, I just slapped you right in the face, you're going to be pissed. You know what I mean? There's not going to be an emotional control. Like, you're just going to be mad. You know what I mean? As would anybody. I mean, it makes sense. It's about controlling the reaction of what you do. That's where you're always going to feel a certain way. If everybody makes fun of you, you're probably going to be like, man, that sucked. You know, like, I really wish that wouldn't have happened. But if you climb all up into your feelings and you're just like inconsolable for weeks over something, like, that's not good either. It's what's going to be your reaction to that thing that made you feel that certain way. That's where the emotional control comes into play. Where people can't control their actions based on what they feel, that's what's problematic. That's where people get into real trouble, man. You know? Yeah. Oh, I'm scared. I can't do anything. I can't leave this room. Oh, you know, I'm mad at this person. I'm going to hit him in the head with a hammer.
You lose also. Yeah, you're off your inner balance point. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, you guys, the big sum up here of this entire podcast, I mean, we touched upon inner game, why you gotta stop believing what other people think and don't believe what you think, and we also touched
on a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah, assertiveness and being like that freaking, what was that? You were talking about your story about how you were dominant in a BDSM, which that would be another podcast we should do, maybe, if you're open to it. So
yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, let's talk about that in the future. All right, and lastly, more importantly, I think that the big sum up of this entire podcast is just having good emotional control. That was one heck of a podcast, dude. So,
yeah, man, like I said, dude, I appreciate you asking me to be on, man. Like, it's an honor and a privilege, and yeah, man, I'm glad that we were able to have this conversation. It was a lot of fun.
Sweet. Oh yeah, one more thing, you guys, before I forget. Dale was a musician, and I love that because I was once a musician a long time ago, right? I play the drums, and I can respect that. I talking to him over Zoom, I can feel that energy, that stage presence that he still has. So, let's fucking go. All right, peace out, you guys. I appreciate you listening to the Masculine Mindset Show. Go get Inner Game by Dale Valor on Amazon Kindle. All right.